Hello, fellow travelers. Welcome to Respawn Station. My name is Kandula, and today, as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Nick Sivak. And what do you know? We're going to talk about some more movies. Video games. But we are going to talk about some movies later on, maybe. Let's get to that in a second. The main topic of the episode is first-person shooter. Pretty much we're going to talk Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, what it could mean for the just kind of Call of Duty in general, and what it could mean to this up-and-coming new shooter, XDefiant. But of course, before we get into all of that, Nick, what are you playing?
Sure. So, this past week, as I was mentioning before we started recording, that I hasn't been like super heavy on the games, but I did finish Outlaws, which I started talking about last week.
Right,
That retro inspired, or not retro inspired, it is retro. LucasArts Doom clone, and I finally finished that. Plus the handful of missions, which I guess were like a expansion sort of on the game. And overall, I had a fun time with it. Kind of like I mentioned last week, like it's definitely dated in areas, and I think the part I came to enjoy the least was the level design, because it's very maze-like and you get kind of lost. And when you're on a map called like Ice Cave and everything looks exactly the same, it gets a little hard to navigate occasionally. But for the most part, it was a breezy single player kind of playthrough for the main story. It was about like 5 hours. I was playing on easy because a lot of the times in games like this, like you blink and you're dead, and no checkpoints makes kind of playing them a bit annoying.
Yeah.
So I just usually play these as a casual kind of thing to run around and blast some enemies. But that was pretty fun. And then the handful of missions are just kind of like bonus missions, so they have like a bit more interesting level designs. There's one that's like almost like a mini arcade game kind of, where you go through and there's like new levels that you go through and you try to capture these bounties, and if you capture them, they show up in a little prison cell in the hub kind of world that you get to walk around. So those were pretty fun. But the main new thing that I played this week was The Evil Within, which I've been wanting to give a try ever since the unfortunate news of Tango Gameworks closing.
Yeah.
This obviously being their first game, and directed by Shinji Mikami of Resident Evil fame. And so far, it's pretty cool. It's a survival horror game, third person. It's got shooting in it, but so far, like many survival horror games, the ammo has not been exactly plentiful, so there hasn't been much shooting. It's kind of been, walking around, sneaking around enemies, trying to get a lay of the land. I should mention that I'm, pretty early on. I've only played the first 2 chapters, but so far the vibes are definitely there. There's kind of like a little hide and get away from the bad guy kind of moment early on, and that had me jumping in my seat a little bit.
Yeah.
I was trying to get away. The biggest thing though that I need to come to grips with is the controls. The controls are a bit, like, I don't want to say they're jank. They're not really janky. It's just, it's got some untraditional, like, inputs kind of thing. Like, meleeing and stuff is, like, pretty weak, which, again, it's, like, sort of, to be expected with a survival horror game. But, just trying to feel out what I can get away with and what I can't is what I'm struggling with the most right now.
Right.
But once I get past that, I mean, I think I'm gonna have a pretty good time with it.
Yeah, The Evil Within is one I've been wanting to get to for a while. But honestly, I didn't think I'd play Hi-Fi Rush before The Evil Within, because I'm so much more into horror than I am kind of like maybe like a rhythm game, which is kind of what Hi-Fi Rush was in my head, before I played it. But I've heard the thing about the controls before, which has made me skeptical. But I always feel like the horror games on my backlog, I want to cram around October. So like whatever, like it's like a slaughter, you know, like whatever 1 or 2 games I make it to are like the winners of the culling, and then you know we gotta wait till next year.
I did that one year pretty hardcore where I played like 4 or 5 horror games and I really enjoyed that. And then the next year I like tried and only played like one.
See,
It was
I
like,
would
oh
I would
dang.
love to do and you know maybe we're planting the seeds here, but I'd love to do like a well, okay, so it's gonna sound is like a weird diversion, but back like 2 years ago, or no, 3 years ago, I started this idea, which was the trophy hunt. Now this was like essentially like within our like you know our team and our friends, like we essentially for a month of or 30-day period, we'd be like, okay, get as many trophies as you can. You can't do like really stupid like you know like dollar in you know put the puzzle together and get a platinum type of thing, but like
Yeah.
how many trophies you can get over that 30-day period. And I really had fun. Like, I mean, first of all, gotta say, I undisputed 3 years in a row. I have won, but I'm not just bringing this up to brag about it. But we haven't done it. I think last year and the year, I don't know, yeah, last year. So I would love to in this year, 2024. Instead of that, do some sort of like other themed event. Maybe we could do like one in like October. Some sort of you know tackle your horror backlog and you know have some fun. That'd be cool. We'll think about this. We'll plot.
It'll certainly give me more incentive to actually stick to
Right.
that. Like the one game that I played, you know, like a year or two ago when it was just the one game, I think was like Luigi's Mansion. So it's like
Oh.
really funny where it was just like, yeah, I have all these other horror games played. The year that I did really well, because in the grand scheme of things, I'm still kind of relatively new to horror, like
Sure.
as a genre. Like I just didn't really interact with it a lot in my
Yeah.
younger years, but you know, whenever I played it a couple years ago, it was like I did like OG Resident Evil 4, I did Silent Hill 2, I did like, you know, a couple other ones, and it was like, you know, I got a lot of the heavy hitters done with it, but then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it again. Here, let's boot up Luigi's Mansion. And then once that was done, I was like, okay, I want to go play something else now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that see for me it was I had done a similar thing of like okay in October I'll do something like scary that's like been on my backlog. I did this not 2022. I did this, and what I said I would stream Alien Isolation. Now I have had never played it before, but I just knew like the game. I've heard about it, and I was like that game would fuck me up, and so I just didn't approach it. And but you know, the community like it was like we like you know I think it's the same thing we did to get you to play Warzone, where it was like we pitched in for the shark bites. So they did that. They got me to play the game, and I think I only played like 5 hours, 6 hours. Made significant progress, but like as soon as October was done, I was like, all right, I'm not touching the game again. Um, so it's a sore spot. I want to like eventually like just force myself to just play through it and finish it so that I have like, you know for the sake of completionisting it.
Mhm.
That was a weird way of saying that. But
Everything I've seen about isolation, like it's so up my alley. But then I always hear anyone talking about it where it's like it's a little on the long side, and that's what kind of turns me off whenever I
I've
hear that. It's just like,
see. I can't tell if I think that because just I'm like a scaredy cat. You know what I mean? But like
mm.
I think the game is like 11 and a half hours or 12 hours, something like that.
I've heard it's like closer to like 17 to 20.
Oh
Like I've
damn,
heard
cool.
like it's long.
Shit. Well, I mean, I did not make it. I did not make it far. I thought I made it further than that, but like I know I made it to the because I know I made it to the second half of the game at least because I believe it's in the second half that the androids get introduced, and I've gotten to that point, but
Mhm.
but yeah, no, I think it would be like a fun like uh uh it's like a campfire story type of thing. You know, you play a horror game through October. Maybe I'm willing to
Mhm.
commit like to an all horror themed episodes all through October.
I like the campfire idea specifically. Like I know you just kind of like mentioned that, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
be an interesting framing device. Like everybody sharing scary stories, that
Right,
kind of thing.
right.
That's fun.
Yeah. Oh, and this is just a brief moment of like why I think Jesus, Alien Isolation is so good. There's a clip of it, and I'll dig it up somewhere. But I was playing the game, and I just gotten this item, and one of the things is like that's really popular about the game is that there's the AI of the alien is so smart. The of the xenomorph is so smart, and it kind of figures out like where you are. It kind of hunts you in real time.
Mm.
Um, and there's a moment where I'm just kind of looking around, and I hear like just like the thuds of it walking around, and I say out loud, I'm like, man, do you think you can come in here? And then I just kind of look around, and then there's a locker in front of me, so I was like, oh, I'll just go inside, and like I go inside, and then you hear, and then the doors open, and it walks in. I'm like, oh my god, like this is terrifying. Like that is organic horror that, yeah, I haven't seen very many other games like tap into that kind of, that weird like organic horror, I guess is where I describe it.
Or even just like a hyper focus on like one super intelligent kind of enemy. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
still kind of in their own camp in that regard.
I mean, I do think that Resident Evil 2, obviously Mr. X I think is close cuz he kind of moves around independently, right? Or just kind of like
It gets like close, but yeah, it's still definitely exploitable. Like you still have your
sure.
safe rooms, right? Where
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Mr. X will not come in.
Yeah.
Whereas like from what I've heard about Alien, like nowhere's safe.
Dude, yeah, yeah. That's true. I don't want to ruin the experience for you. I'm not gonna ruin it. Like what is and what is not safe, but
Mm.
nothing's safe. So that probably that prepares you. Um. All right.
What have you
So
been playing, Sri?
now last week I gave very brief first impressions on XDefiant, but since then I have put a significant amount of time into the game. And for context, I have unlocked all of the weapons because you have the base weapons that you unlock just right off the bat, one for each class type of thing. But then the more you use a certain class, you complete challenges that unlock different weapons. Same thing with secondary weapons as well. And so I've unlocked all those weapons, and there's also various factions. One of them is locked. You have to get to a certain XP to unlock it, or you can buy it with real life currency, real life money. But I've unlocked that as well just by playing it organically. That being said, I have played it enough to say, hey, I'm gonna pitch in. I did buy a battle pass for this one, and it is the preseason, so it's like a few weeks where it kind of is building up to the main kind of launch. I guess almost like the lobby almost of
The
waiting for
early
the
adopter kind of
yeah,
battle
pretty much.
pass or something.
So because yeah, like because it's kind of a seasonal game, they'll have a preseason where they're kind of like fine tuning things, getting everything right, and then when season 1 starts is when like the full game kind of takes off. But that being said, there are like I said, there's 5 factions, and then there's going to be more kind of added throughout the game's lifetime. And with that all being said, here's my thoughts on XDefiant, Ubisoft's latest, I think, surprise hit. Right? I think there's a lot of positive talk around this game currently, and I think it's well earned because I'm really enjoying it. Now, that being said, my one gripe is that how do I say? It's just going to be a ramble. I'm just gonna let it all out. This is not like an article where I'm going to type it out.
Go
Very,
for it.
but Nick, feel free to jump in about any kind of at any point if you want to cut me off. But the thing is, the game is very like all the game modes in it, which is like occupy, which is kind of like a hard point, domination, escort, which I'm told is also like in Overwatch. I haven't played Overwatch, but I've heard is like a similar thing in Overwatch. So those kind of things, they're all objective based, and for me, I'm I like to, be a simple shooter. I said this last episode. I like a simple, just kind of hop in, hop out type of shooter. So Ubisoft, please add in free for all or team deathmatch, or of some sort. But regardless of that, the game's objective modes are like just right, where every match, and again, there's no skill-based matchmaking in this other than the welcome playlist. Once you're after, like, out of level 25, like if you're over level 25, you can't use the welcome playlist anymore, and it's just kind of regular lobbies. There's no skill-based matchmaking, and what that creates, at least what I find right now, is that there's like a real kind of wild card of like who's gonna win. It's like there's been so many like down to the wire moments that I've just enjoyed. Even if I like lose, I'm like, that's pretty good. Okay, I'll give them credit, type of thing, which has been nice. Again, as someone who doesn't really like objective based game modes, domination's like kind of my favorite. But regardless of that,
so when
go ahead.
When you say there's no skill-based matchmaking in the game, is it still too early days to see if there's people that are just like trouncing certain lobbies?
Dude, okay. Oh my God. Okay, so yeah, there's definitely. Here's the thing. I'm playing on PlayStation 5. The game's on Xbox Series XS and the PC, and what I find is that when I'm, if I'm playing with Alexa or Austin, who are on Xbox and also PlayStation, I have to turn on crossplay to create a lobby with them. And what I find is that as we're playing, we'll get to games a lot faster. Like it's pretty fast when you do with crossplay on, because obviously it's a larger pool of players. But there's like just the chances of just absolutely just getting destroyed, because there's clearly a meta that I'm guessing is popular on like PC with keyboard and mouse, where you just jump, like you just jump, hop, like bunny hop. And it's like infuriating when you play against someone, like, just stop hopping, dude. So that is a little bit annoying. But like today I played I turned off crossplay. I played by myself. I hopped in actually earlier today just to get my daily challenges, just to play a few games, and that's kind of where I'm at with the game. Just a small game that I can hop in and hop out of. I was talking to Austin about it while we were playing over the weekend, and I think him and I both agree that there's few free-to-play first-person shooters that are exactly in this market, right? I at least, and again, if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me and prove, we could talk about it. But from my understanding, a lot of the free-to-play first-person shooters are closer to like a Counter-Strike, which it might just be a first-person shooter, but it's very different from a Call of Duty type of thing. And they also don't always have, like, none that I've seen have this level of production quality. I mean, it's not quite Call of Duty, but it's definitely like closer to AAA than anything else, or quadruple A. I'm not gonna get into it. But it is good quality, and like I do like the maps and the general design. They have that. It was a small thing I noticed earlier today when I was playing, when I was it was something that I think that Call of Duty does really well in their multiplayer matches, is the music changing while the game is going to reflect what's happening. Like at the end of the match, where it's like the music starts to kind of get a little bit more intense, and it builds up to like, it makes it a little bit more cinematic. In a weird way, that's like climactic, right? Like that's, or it makes cinematic. And this game's like almost there. It's like so close that it's like kind of works for me, where it's like the music does change to kind of what's happening, and it kicks in at the right time that it makes the games, again, those close games that I was talking about, pretty intense. And it's pretty easy to pick up and play. Like I said, free. So I've seen a lot of people on our Discord kind of go in, share their thoughts. Talk about. There's definitely like a MP7 meta. It seems so. Some sort of SMG fan club going on. And I'll Nick was actually just talking about first-person shooters. about getting into Call of Duty again. So, Nick, I'll let you. What's going on? What do you have installed? What do you have cooking?
Yeah. So, as I was mentioning, and as you alluded to, I basically, for anybody listening, I've noticed over the past couple of years that sometime around the summer months, maybe it's, the gaming news cycle, maybe it's, different life circumstances, but somewhere around the summer months, I usually get bit by the Call of Duty bug. And I need something exactly like you're describing with XDefiant, where it's like something that, I don't have to get super invested in, but something that I can, if I'm chatting with friends or, just don't want to get too involved in like a big game, something that
Yeah.
I can get in for, 2, 3 matches and get out basically.
Do you know?
So,
I'm not just trying to cut you off. So do you think that this is like from like when we were younger and we were like during the summers? I mean, I don't know about you. Like for me, I definitely as like a kid, like if I'm not playing outside or like just kind of hanging out, I'm just
mm,
sitting inside and I'm playing video games and I'm just like Call of Duty mainly is what I used to play with people over the summer.
I hadn't thought about that, but there definitely could be something to that,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
very specific, like nostalgic kind of thing. Because I mean, for you and me, Sri, I mean, Call of Duty is kind of nostalgic in
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
we're on Black Ops 6, dude.
right.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
basically, there's, you know, and I should say that my relationship with Call of Duty is very love hate. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I in the more modern time, I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago, but like I'm definitely more into just like kind of playing the campaigns than the multiplayer. Right
Yeah.
now I do have that multiplayer itch though. So it's like I was kind of tossing up a couple of options because at this point I have played most of them. There are still like a handful of mainline entries that I haven't played,
Have
and
you played
that's kind of why
Vanguard?
no, that is one of the ones that I have not
Hmm.
played yet.
Hmm.
Basically, it's the original Call of Duty. It's Black Ops 2, Black Ops 4,
Black Ops 2, I remember. Yes, dude. I can.
Vanguard,
Yeah.
and I think that's it. I think I've played all of the other ones that are
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
mainline entries.
Yeah.
And so what I was bouncing between is, and what I've ultimately settled on is actually 2 Call of Duties.
Oh.
I'm going to be playing Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 4. Uh, Black
Well,
Ops 4 is the one that's installed right now.
oh
So
man. Okay. Wait.
Black Ops
So
2 I have on 360, so I don't actually have to install that, but I'm going to get my campaign fix from that, and then I'm going to use the multiplayer only Call of
so
Duty to get my
Black Ops
multiplayer
3 is Train
fix.
Go Boom, right? That's that one.
Black Ops 3. Wait, what's this Train Go Boom? I've never heard of that.
It's this famous. It's a quote from I think it's Black Ops 3 where there's it's I guess it's like a repeating line in the movie or sorry in the in the game where it's pretty much a cutscene. It's a movie
Uh-huh.
where he goes train go boom and it's just people. It's like this iconic scene. It's just train go boom. That I'm pretty sure it's Black Ops 3 because that one has a campaign and it's like by the way really quick and probably not accurate spoilers but I'm pretty sure if wait have you played Black Ops 3 Nick?
Yeah, a couple years
Okay,
ago I did.
so I'm if I understand it correctly Black Ops 3 your character like dies after the third mission and then like right and then like the rest of the like right am I wrong like and then it's like the rest of the game is like some so like that's the whole thing I think he's saying like yeah like train go boom I think now dude I'm going to this fucking rabbit hole right now.
It it certainly didn't really leave that much of a mark from a story standpoint on me. The only things that I think of when I think of Black Ops 3 is like your arms being blown off in one mission and like it going into zombies later on. Like those are the two
Yes.
things that I remember from it.
Yeah, no, yes, it is Black Ops 3. And yeah, it's just like train go boom. I can send this to you afterward, Nick.
Yeah, I definitely am gonna need to see that.
but
But yeah, Black Ops 4, like it was always kind of a black sheep for me personally because again, I like playing the campaigns and it's
so you're doing that just
famously a
for
Call of
multi
Duty
sorry,
that doesn't
I
have
apologize if you already said this. You're doing that just for multiplayer?
pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I'm
That's
gonna do
fair.
Black Ops 2 to get my campaign
Campaign.
itch out, and I'm gonna do
Sure.
Black Ops 4 to get some multiplayer matches in and maybe some zombies. I'm probably not going to
Right.
play
Right.
Blackout, but
Yeah.
multiplayer for sure.
Man, you're see Black Ops 2 I think is a great campaign. I've played it a few years ago. I think I said that before, but just to kind of relive it. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is there is a campaign in Black Ops 4. It's I think maybe equates to like 30 minutes of
Oh,
cutscenes.
okay. Yeah.
But there's like a training sort of thing in the game. Yeah, it's essentially like a training mode in the game
Mm-hmm.
where as you play through the training modes, like it's essentially you playing through different multiplayer matches with bots as like practice, but in between it has like good job, and it's like it has like all these cutscenes that are lore
Mm-hmm.
for Call of Duty or Black Ops. So weird, yeah. That and fun fact, I reviewed Black Ops 6, or sorry, Jesus Christ, Black Ops 4 on the site. It was one of the it's one of those things I occasionally same thing like Nick. I occasionally hop into a Call of Duty randomly, and I'm like, man, I'll write about it. So I've covered I think Modern Warfare 1, 2, and I'm waiting remastered, and I'm waiting for Modern Warfare 3 remastered, which I know has got to be on the horizon at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Black Ops 4. So I'll gotta
Yeah,
do some of
Black
those.
Ops 2, I'm actually really excited for because, like you said, like it is highly regarded. Like,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
weird. It's weird that it's taken me this long to get to that one. Black Ops 2, specifically talking about, nostalgia and our past, experience with Call of Duty.
yeah.
That was the one where I cut it off or like
Wow.
around
Yeah.
which was first, Ghosts or Black Ops 2?
Black Ops 2.
So yeah, that was like the first point where I would have, cut that off when I was
Yeah.
like, I'm kind of done buying the DLC and playing Call of Duty every year. Like Modern Warfare 3 was really the last one that, I was kind of hardcore into at the time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was just like kind of the perfect timing that I kind of missed it for a couple of years. But, I am excited to see what all the hype is about because, anytime I see somebody do a tier list or something like that about Call of Duty, it's always like, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, and Black Ops 2 up in the top. So,
Yeah. It's such a weird yeah, I remember watching the trailer for Black Ops 2 just so many times. And like for me, I think my peak was Black Ops 2. Like that's where and I remember like Ghosts coming out and I didn't I didn't get Ghosts. I just played Black Ops 2 some more. So that's why it's the game that I think I have the most kind of time into in the series. But yeah, well, I'm here. I'm interested to hear your thoughts once you've played through the campaign because I do think
yeah,
it's still
obviously haven't started yet,
right,
but
right,
like,
right.
next week I will certainly have some talking points on it.
Yeah, and then enjoy the 30 minutes you get in Black Ops 4, man. Oh boy.
Yeah, I actually, it's kind of funny. Before we, move on to some news topics, I was looking up specifically Black Ops 4. I was like, do people still play this? Because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna,
Yeah.
hop into like, barely empty lobbies or anything like that. And a bunch of people, there was a, to
Dude,
their credit, there's a Reddit post that was like Black Ops in 2024, and a bunch of people were like, yeah, like if you're on PC, it's pretty dead, but on console, you're probably gonna be fine. And I was like, all
Call of
right,
Duty
cool.
games have crazy legs on console. But here's dude, honestly, if Black Ops 4, if I remember, is not if Black Ops 4 was not a like 100 and something gig download, I would have downloaded just to play with you because I do remember liking the gunplay. I do like Treyarch's Call of Duty games a lot, but
Mhm.
but I'm pretty sure that game comes packaged with Blackout, and man, so that adds a hefty. So do you know about Blackout? Have you played it at all?
The only thing that I know is that it was their first stab at battle royale before like Warzone and all that.
Are you
Like
gonna hop in at
outside of
all?
that, I never really watched any gameplay or anything of it.
Are you gonna hop in at all?
I might try a match. I'm definitely more into the like 6v6 kind of
No.
multiplayer.
That's
But like,
totally that's me. But I did play. For some stupid reason, I was like, I'm gonna Black Ops 4 is the game I'm gonna start trophy hunting with, and that's what like when I made this my new PlayStation account after college, and
mhm.
it was terrible. Like I played Blackout just like trying to grind for like some of these trophies, and I was like, fuck
I was
this.
gonna say that's got to be a pain in a multiplayer only game to go
Yeah,
for trophies. Like you kind of run
I played
the
I
entire
played so
gamut.
much zombies, and I don't even like really care for zombies. I just like remember grinding it out for some reason, but it was okay.
I
It was
was I was going on a YouTube rabbit hole the other night, and what kind of, I think spurred on this Call of Duty bug bite is that I watched randomly, again, I don't normally consume this kind of stuff, but I just started watching a zombies tier list. And I was like, I
Ah,
haven't played zombies since Black Ops 1. So I was like, let's see what people talk about. And I, to my knowledge, I don't think Black Ops 4 is regarded very highly from the zombies players.
yeah,
So we'll see.
dude,
I'll
dude,
dip my toes in there too.
imagine, imagine XDefiant releases like a infected mode. You know what I mean? It's just like it's essentially zombies, dude. I could see it. They could do a Fortnite curve.
No, it'll just be the infected enemies from Rainbow Six Extraction.
Yeah,
That's how they'll tie that in.
yeah, dude. They already have them in. It's in the lore. It's baked in. just copy those assets in. It's got to be. Is that on the Snowdrop engine? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But no, seriously. While I am joking about dropping the assets in, I do think it would be interesting because it'd be an interesting pivot of like trying to cut Call of Duty in both ways. It'd be interesting to see. I don't think it'll happen, but I'll throw it out there if anyone's watching. Nick,
Yeah,
before we
what's more?
continue the XDefiant talk and Call of Duty talk, how about we get into what's going on with the news?
Yeah, sure thing. A bunch of different topics popped up over the last week.
Yep, yep.
Seeing as we just moved on from Black Ops, let's hit this quick one. We'll be talking about it later as
Yeah.
well, but as we were, discussing last week, and as we both kind of surmised, it has been officially confirmed that Black Ops 6 is going to be Day 1 Game Pass.
Yes.
So that's news.
Yeah. We'll skip right
Shocking,
past that one,
not
right?
us,
Yeah,
but,
well,
yep.
we'll get to that one.
But yeah, if you were holding out on, hearing about that, yes, if you have Game Pass, you'll be able to play Black Ops 6 on launch day. So,
Yeah, yeah.
got some showcases, Sri. We're in the
Man,
we're in the
yes.
season.
Yeah.
Busy day tomorrow. It sucks that we're not recording tomorrow.
Yep.
But we got a Sony State of Play. We got the Marvelous Game Showcase, and we have a Silent Hill transmission that are all airing tomorrow, which is May 30th for people that are, not watching this live.
Right.
Or listening to it live. Should mention, this is specifically a Sony State of Play. I know that there's been some discussion, at least in the PlayStation sphere, because they have two different, names that they give these events. It's either a State of Play or a PlayStation Showcase.
Yeah.
And historically, the PlayStation Showcase has been the bigger, more like,
E3 event.
special one where the first party games are. That's where your God of Wars, your Ratchet and Clanks, all that sort of stuff show up. And State of Plays have been a lot more hit or miss. Sometimes you get some cool stuff. Sometimes it's, kind of mid and not that exciting. So
Yeah.
we'll see if this shakes out to be a better one or a not as better one. But
I wouldn't get my hopes up. I think realistically we're getting at the very minimum Bloodborne remastered. I mean, it has to happen. I saw it trending on Twitter. I mean, it's just it's got to be happening now. Finally,
as somebody who watches a lot of the Nintendo indie showcases, every time one of those indie showcases happens,
right.
Twitter gets flooded with people putting on clown masks for Hollow Knight Song.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're pretty much gonna get to that point with Bloodborne, where it's like anytime there's a Sony event and it doesn't show up, get the masks ready.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I obviously love this time of the year, and
Yeah,
usually
if it's a good event, we'll see if we can get a reaction out of it. But yeah, if it's nothing like crazy, I don't. We'll see how it is.
Yeah, usually for me personally, I'm not these people that you'll see online. That's just oh, it was F tier. Oh, nothing good. It's usually I find one thing that I'm at least interested in. So it's kind of bad when you don't have anything in a showcase.
Yeah.
So,
I do think I approach showcases kind of realistically, where I understand if there's at least something that's for me, I can understand if something else is not, because they're trying to appeal to such. I'm not just the demographic. I'm part of a sliver, so I get the expansion. It's just when yeah, I mean, there's a there's a funny clip that of I was watching. What was it the Game Awards last year, where
Mhm.
we're like, Austin says, "Man, it's 10:30, and you're giving me our real time strategy game."
Oh my god, I forgot about that. That's
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. Yeah, they can definitely struggle with that from time to time. Um, Sony's obviously exciting though. Marvelous, I saw on there. They're more of like expect like double A or like indie kind of stuff with that one.
yeah,
My only real connection to Marvelous is that they published like No More Heroes 3, so it's like maybe
yeah.
some
That's
Suda
same
stuff
here.
might show up there,
Yeah,
but that one's at least one to keep an eye on. And then Silent Hill, I mean, I assume we're getting a Silent Hill 2 release date during this, and they did confirm that they're giving a deeper look at the movie that's being made. So might be some interesting stuff.
huh?
Maybe not. We'll see. Um, Obviously, Konami's a bit hit and miss too with their own stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
here we can talk about. Well, actually, let's talk about the other thing that we mentioned last week that we would
sure.
talk about, which was Warhammer Skulls. That
Yes,
was a big Warhammer game showcase.
yeah, yeah.
We don't have everything listed here, but there were some highlights. Did you see anything from the showcase 3?
I got the some of the press releases, so I saw the stuff. I do have one
Mhm.
thing pinned that I want we can discuss, but I think you'll probably mention it too.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I've just seen like
Yeah,
some
no, unfortunately I
bits and
couldn't make it.
pieces here and there. But some of the highlights that I personally saw or that stood out to me were Space Marine 2. That got another trailer,
Yes.
and that game definitely looks like it's shaping up. It's pretty sick. Um, you know, just kind of each trailer looks better and better, which I
Yeah,
think is a
man.
good sign. Even if the game maybe isn't like the most AAA of AAA, like I think it definitely looks like cream of the crop when it comes to
It,
Warhammer stuff right now. Um,
dude, it's so weird. Well, actually, I mean, actually, okay, let's talk about some of the Warhammer stuff. I'll pin this point until after. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. What
I
else?
was
What
just gonna
else?
say, yeah, we'll rapid fire some of these other ones.
Yep.
Specific to you and I, Bolt Gun is getting a
Yeah.
DLC, which we kind of guessed might be on the horizon. There's some updates for Vermintide 2 and Dark Tide.
Yep.
These are more like free updates or new content coming to those games. And then the last one that I threw on here is just kind of goofy. It's a Warhammer Speed Freaks, which has
Oh, I
essentially been
see it.
described as like a Twisted Metal game in Warhammer. I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Dude, okay. So here's the thing. For wow, I actually just pulled up Speed Freaks as you mentioned it, so I'm like just kind of like, what the hell is going on? Um
It's definitely like more goofier
no,
than
but
some of the
but
other ones.
that's what makes it so cool. See, uh one of our dear chatters, Nomad, was actually in talking with talking on Discord recently, and he was like, "Yeah, I just finished like my third Warhammer book," and I'm like, he's like super into it, and he's you know just like really involved in that world. And for me, it's like I really want to dive in. There's so much in Warhammer that like, and I do agree that it's such a wide breadth of content that like not everything is gold, right? Like
Mhm.
there's so much that like you will have to do some of the digging of like, oh, this is good, like I have to find Space Marine or whatever amongst
Mhm.
the games that don't make the cut, or maybe are not quite as up to par. um but it's so daunting, and like Bolt Gun was a really interesting kind of introduction to it, but like that's all I got. Like
Mhm.
and even Bolt Gun, like going in, it was like, man, like they're just like really. It's like everyone's in on the bit, and you're like, I see what I appreciate what's going on, but
I
like,
totally get what you're talking
yeah,
about. Like, similarly, I'm with, Bolt Gun, and then I have that Necromunda game, the
yeah,
hired gun one. And it's like, everybody's throwing out terms and stuff about like, exalted, you know, orc army or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that, and it's just like, oh, you sound like you know what you're talking about, so I'm along for the ride. But
Yeah. Yeah, but like it's some of the aesthetics and stuff in those games are just so like awe-inspiring that
mhm.
you can tell it's just a grand scale. And obviously if Henry Cavill's into it, it's got to be cool. So, but no, and to actually I will say that the bolt gun specifically, I did have this. I was going to mention this in the inbox, but I'll throw it in now. So it's called The
Yeah, go for it.
Forges of Corruption, a bloody new DLC. It's coming June 18th, and it also has free updates coming out for all players. Now, this is actually interesting, Nick. As now that we've both played this game, we can kind of. I wanted to talk about this. So let's see here. I'm trying to find exactly where it is. Okay, so they're adding a new horde mode with 4 difficulty levels and its own achievements. So it's I guess this was a highly debated or highly requested mode. So the DLC is the Forges of Corruption, has the full base game, and it also comes with the DLC. Jesus Christ, this is such a this press release is written in such a hard to digest way. Let's see. You know what? I'm just gonna say it has a horde mode. I'm not gonna go digging through the rest because I did not. that is a lot to read through.
Mhm.
But will you be
Horde
coming
mode.
back, Nick? Will you be coming back to?
So
Is
I
it uninstalled?
it is not because of one kind of specific reason that I was mentioning a couple episodes ago is that I played it on Game Pass, and I have since canceled my Game Pass subscription. So I don't currently like own a copy of Bolt Gun to play. Um, but also having just come off of it like a couple, what is that, like a month or two ago
Yeah,
maybe, that I
yeah,
finished that game. Like I was kind of done with it by the end of it anyway, so like coming back for like DLC in a horde mode is going to be kind of a tall ask for me personally.
yeah,
I'm super jazzed for people that like the game a lot and haven't played it since it came out. This will probably be like some really good content, and like I mean the shooting is fun, so like a horde mode you kind of have to you know believe that that's just going to be kind of fun on its own.
yeah.
But
And
yeah, for me, it's more of like, I'm kind of done with that for now. Like maybe
yeah,
down the line, if I
yeah,
either resub to Game Pass or, pick up a game copy digitally or, I think they have a physical. So like maybe if I got it down the line, I'd be more inclined. But for me, like it's probably, it's a little too quick after, setting sail with that game for me to go back.
sure. No, I get that. Just because I look like a goddamn idiot. I did continue reading through. I do have basic reading comprehension. So the thing, the other thing that they added, so along with the horde mode, they also added a navigation guide, which will help you through the levels. So
That is good.
that
That
is
was
good.
an issue I
Yep.
had.
And there's
So
also they say there's numerous bug fixes and quality of life improvements as well. So there you go. That's what I was. Now is an ideal time for you to jump into Bolt Gun again. Forges of Corruption comes out June 18th, 2024 on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. You're welcome. Nintendo Switch release is planned at a later date. Okay. That's all my Warhammer. Oh, sorry. No, not last thing. They also announced Warhammer Mechanicus 2. Now, if that means nothing to you, then ignore this next fact. Actually, no, don't ignore this next fact. Warhammer Mechanicus 1 until the end of the month is free on Steam. So you can pick it up and maybe you will become a Warhammer 40K Mechanicus fan. That, I don't even know what kind of genre this game is in. I just wanted to throw it out
I
there.
saw it briefly when I was looking at the announcements. I think it's a turn-based strategy game.
Ah, my strong
So
suit.
not really my speed. I
My
didn't want to
strong suit.
assume on your tastes on that genre, Sri, but like for me personally, I was just kind of like maybe we can
Yeah.
pass that one.
But again, Nick, this is what I'm saying. Warhammer is you don't even need to play an RTS. There's so many other things you can interact with.
Mm-hmm.
Someone
Yeah,
recommend me a good trilogy or something, or one book to to read for Warhammer, and maybe we'll talk about it. But anyway,
that's what's crazy. It's like not many franchises have enough that they're working on that you can fill a showcase with just those
just
games,
one.
right?
Yeah,
Like
right. Yeah,
that's insane. But as far as like other news topics, these are a bit on the shorter side, so we can wrap up this
yeah.
section
Go
pretty
for it.
quickly. One that I saw earlier today, Amazon Games. We were talking about them the
My
other day.
conspiracy don't make me go, don't make me go back.
They announced a new publishing deal with Maverick Games, which I
Whoa!
haven't looked them up,
I
but I'm
just
not.
looked it up.
I'm.
Go ahead.
Do they have any developed games currently? They sounded new to me.
No, no. It seems that they're brand new.
So yeah, this is a team
It
made of
started in, is founded in
former.
2022.
Okay, so yeah, they're definitely new.
Yeah.
Um, this is a team founded by former Forza Horizon devs and like Playground Game staff.
Yeah, it's the
And
studio head
this
and creative director is Mike Brown, who's the former creative director of the Forza Horizon franchise.
right on. And this game that they are publishing with Amazon or developing with Amazon is quoted as a narrative-led open-world driving game.
Yeah.
So, not a whole lot to chew on there, but
No, yeah.
I do want to bring up our past discussions. I'm not sure if they were on the podcast or just off of podcast, but about Forza Horizon and racing game stories and how
Yeah.
they feel so low energy and like not the most gripping. It's usually just kind of like
Just
the fluff on top to kind of
whatever,
string
yeah, no,
together the
whatever you got to
races.
tell me, man, just throw it in my face so I can get to the racing.
Exactly. So the idea of a narrative-led
Well, so
driving
this is what
game
reminds.
is kind of interesting.
Okay, there's there's this game that came out. Is it Pacific Drive? Is that what it's called? It's like a narrative-led driving game, right? Like it's like a survival game where it's like first person, but you can get into a car and drive around, and then collect resources. I'm curious if this is closer to that, or if if they're trying to do like another like Forza Horizon Need for Speed, just with story, I guess maybe character
So
based.
Pacific Drive, from what I've seen, it has more like roguelike elements in it. So you're doing more
Oh,
like kind of runs with that. When I see narrative led, I mean, my monkey brain goes to like Uncharted with cars, right? Like something with like, an actual like cast of characters and things like that. As far as I'm aware, I think, all of the characters you kind of interact with in Pacific Drive are kind of like, on a radio or like disembodied voices. So, I mean, obviously, depending on the scale of this project, you know, choose what to expect with that. I mean, obviously,
well,
Forza
how do
is
you
also
do
like
puzzles
that.
with like? I'm trying to think like an Uncharted. Like now you said it, I'm just like, how do you do Uncharted puzzles with cars?
Hmm.
You know?
I mean, I guess it depends on what the theming is, right? Too,
Oh,
because it's like,
here you go. So it's a parking lot. There's empty spaces, and you have to park in the right. You have to park in the right order. To like it's like almost like entering a code by parking in the right order, and then
I, yeah, that is certainly a way. I thought you were going like you need to, get in between the lines perfectly, but using it
uh
as like a keypad, I think
yeah.
that's much more interesting and much more thoughtful than what I was going with.
Yeah, for to use that, just tag me in the credits or something.
I think of like ramps and stuff. Like, there's probably some stuff you could do with that.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. I mean, I think it's so funny because like I didn't ever realize like how close Nick and I are in terms of like we play very different games. We have very similar kind of cycles of gaming. So like we'll both be in like these moods of like cycles through games. So like we're both in our Call of Duty phase right now. But then last year we were kind of in our racing game phase at the same time with Crew Motorfest too. So we'll see. This coming out. There's actually no release date on this, but it's an unannounced game, and it's PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. So yep.
yeah,
It's a
I think
new
the
game.
one thing that I would love to see, which
Uh huh.
I know we have some older games that kind of play with these ideas, but something crime infused is always something that grabs my attention. So something like a
Oh
getaway driver kind of game, I think would be really cool, or like you know something that has that kind of an element to
boy,
it. I think
maybe do I
it would
have a
be
game for
easier to
you
make.
in the inbox? Ooh.
Ooh. All right.
There you
That's a
go.
good tease for later.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this last news story is just a really quick one. Atari acquired Intellivision. Um, obviously both companies have very historical roots in this industry. Some would say that it was the first real console war. So people that care about that,
Yeah.
there's finally a flag that reigns supreme, I suppose. But
Yeah.
that was something that happened this week. So
Yeah. That was an unexpected one. It just kind of happened. I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, you just kind of see the headline. And it's like, oh, neat.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, cool. But yes, Ree, let's
Man.
see this main topic. Black Ops 6. Let's answer the question right now. Is Black Ops 6 going to kill XDefiant?
Okay, okay. See, you said that very simply, but I do have a layered discussion about this, Nick. Okay. So I think that right now, one thing to credit XDefiant for is that I think it came out at the right time. Personally, as someone who's played a lot of Call of Duty, Nick, you can tell me, if your observations are different, but I always think around this time of a Call of Duty game's life cycle, people are like starting to get like a little bit like, okay, we're like, and then, obviously summer vacation kind of plunges them back into it. But right now is when, like, obviously this is also when the next Call of Duty trailers come out. So like, the next shining thing is kind of presented to you at the, at the end of the road. So I do think it's a good time that it came out. And I think it's capitalizing on this time well so far by getting out, like, putting out updates and kind of listening to the community. That's all good. Black Ops 6, I think any first-person shooter is always threatened whenever a new Call of Duty comes out, because there's a chance, at least in my mind, right, there's a chance that they could have another 2019 Modern Warfare, because I think that the 2019 Modern Warfare game, like, I think just breathed new life into this franchise. I mean, that was like
It 100% did.
It was like crazy how the perception of Call of Duty up to that point where it's like, man, just like, what the hell is going on? Like, just stop already, And then
I think people were expecting that with World War II, but then I think people were kind of like lukewarm on that. And then, yeah, like you said, when Modern Warfare 2019 hit, that was really kind of like the big spike back up.
And then, and then Warzone, I think, was kind of a good 1-2 of like, back to back. So, to that credit, I think that chance is always there now that a new Call of Duty, like a new, Black Ops comes out, and all of a sudden people are like, wait, this Call of Duty is pretty good. Everyone get back into it. That's always there. The reason why, and so originally I didn't have, but I think originally XDefiant could have stood on its own, retained enough players, kept it going, and survived till the next year, and then kind of hopefully kept going after that. But now there's the wrinkle, as you just said earlier in this episode. Black Ops 6 is coming to Game Pass on day one. I do think that will put XDefiant on a little bit of on the irons a little bit, because I know it's not technically a quote unquote free game, but for like around like 2.5 million people who have Xbox Game Pass, it is free. Like it's just like a brand new Call of Duty day one on your Xbox, ready to go. Should you choose
the closest thing to free that's not Warzone.
Right. Yeah. And but this is everything. You get campaign, you get the whole lot. And so I think that will I do think that it will push people to get the Game Pass. So I do think that is a win for Microsoft in that regard. I don't think it's a win overall, because I have to imagine the sales will not be like the amount for memberships cannot reach the sales that Call of Duty pulls in from just Xbox overall. At least I'd imagine. I'm sure there'll still be Xbox sales. I'm not saying that it'll be cutting out that piece of the pie entirely, but you get what I'm saying.
Call of Duty's the easy Christmas gift, right?
Yes, exactly.
Every year, you're still gonna have like that, and obviously, sales on something like PlayStation or PC probably aren't going to be affected as much. Maybe we'll see with the PC, and PlayStation probably won't be affected that much.
And that's the thing too, is I think we can both say, of like having worked in game retail, I think that the Call of Duty, like the make and break of Call of Duty, is actually not just. I mean, obviously they make like the first 3 days of Call of Duty is like just crazy earnings,
Mhm.
and then the second wave I think is the holiday season where it kind of spikes up again, and that's when they really blow out like a Battlefield out of the water, um,
Right.
and they kind of run away with it there. But so I do think that that will have an impact. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing this how this shift happens going with obviously going to Game Pass and with so much of the player base as I think is common knowledge now of Call of Duty being on PlayStation, of just how that'll impact that whole dynamic.
Mhm.
It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be cool.
Something that you mentioned, I hadn't really considered before, but it was specifically when you said the full package, it made me think like, obviously like campaign, multiplayer, zombies. But what immediately popped into my head when you said that was Halo Infinite and how Halo
Wow.
Infinite launched with
Oh
free multiplayer, but you had to
yeah.
pay for the campaign. And I was like, I wonder if they would ever, because obviously we're just in experimentation mode with
Sure.
Call of
Sure.
Duty and with everything with Xbox
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
But it's like, I wonder if they would ever consider that, where it's just like, if you want to pay $60 for, your full suite, your campaign, your zombies, your multiplayer, that's, well, $70, whatever the price is going to be.
Yeah.
You know, pay your money, you get the full package. But if you have Game Pass,
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
multiplayer day one or something. Like, I wonder if they would
See,
ever try that.
f- uh, I don't think that would ever happen. Just because I think that they make so much money just by being like, hey, I want more money, and just be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, sure, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so like just money wise, if we're just talking about like playing that simple that way, but I do think
Mm-hmm.
that ju- just in terms of Call of Duty's free to play endeavors, like Call of Duty Mobile is a surprisingly competent, like full kind of suite of multiplayer of everything you get in a multiplayer game in Call of Duty is you can play it on your phone. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't play games on phone, and so I haven't really done it. Like I've played like a few times with some people who really are really into it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so like, for me, I don't know why they don't do that. Because look, if Call of Duty ever did that, it would be crazy how I'd have to imagine that would be really popular. Like, there's no way I don't see that ever not being huge. Just because of it's Call of Duty, the name value alone. Just like Warzone, like I would Warzone have been what it is if it wasn't Call of Duty? I don't know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I digress on that point, but in general though, I mean, do you have any bets?
Specifically for Black Ops, or like, how do you mean?
Well, yeah, well, about Black Ops or the XDefiant and Black Ops, like they're
Oh, gotcha. Specifically that, yeah. Well, I certainly would put money on seeing a spike drop of players
yeah, a dip, yeah,
from XDefiant the day that Call of Duty hits.
yeah,
I think that's a pretty safe bet.
yeah,
Um, I think XDefiant, you know, coming from the perspective of somebody who has not yet played, again, we'll play together here soon, probably.
yes,
Um, I think that game ultimately, from what I've seen, is going to kind of live or die by its post-launch kind of support.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you know, it obviously is going to fall into this like live service kind of a thing. So, the thing that kind of pops into my mind is like, okay, so you're going to have to need new maps. You're probably going to have a couple of these factions or other games that you want to introduce into the X Defiant universe or
yeah,
whatever, however you want to describe that. New weapons and stuff like that. These are all the things that people are expecting from a service game.
yeah,
So it depends on how fast you're able to get these things to the game and how quality they are, right?
yeah,
You know, if you're adding like it's kind of weird. I'm trying to think of an example where I've seen this, but I feel like there's examples that you can pull. But like if you're just putting in factions from like the Division and Splinter Cell
Yeah.
or like Ghost Recon and that's it, and you have like just the Far Cry 6 characters, it's like from Far Cry or like,
Yeah.
not really expanding on that. That's probably going to get like kind of boring for people. I
Right.
imagine at least it would feel kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
So it's really going to depend on that, or like maybe their ideas like new modes like you mentioned, like team deathmatch, free for all. Maybe they have a plan of being like, hey, month 4 we're gonna throw
Yeah.
team deathmatch in when Call of Duty comes out or whatever. Like
Uh-huh.
maybe they have those kind of plans, but I yeah I XDefiant is such a weird case, man.
So
Like
yeah.
I have no idea what
Well,
what 3 years from now looks like for that game.
yes, and here's and again, we've seen kind of Ubisoft maybe stumble at this before with Hyperscape, and but I do still think, again, as someone who played the Hyperscape when that came out, I do think the energy around this game is a little bit different right now. But I actually pulled it up just out of my own curiosity. So the game right now launched with 5 game modes, 24 weapons, 44 attachments, 14 maps, 10 of which are like the classic arenas, and then there's 4 progression maps, which are, I think, exclusively for the escort mission, or the escort game mode. And there's 5 factions, 4 of which are automatically unlocked, 1 of which is you have to earn. So that's all this stuff that's like in the preseason right now, what you can get. They've announced that there's a year one. They've announced a year 1 roadmap. Now, what this means, this is what they've announced again. So I'm trying to make that very clear because I don't want to put anything out of context. So season 1, which again starts after this preseason in like 50 days or something. I forget, something like that. Season 1 will introduce a faction codename Ruby. We'll have 3 new weapons, 3 new maps, and 90 tiers of the battle pass. And there's also, for modes, you're going to have new arena and progression modes, ranked mode, private matches, caster cams, ongoing work to keep the competition fair, and a welcome list for beginners, and practice zones. Those are going to be all throughout the first year of the game, just generally. Season 2, faction codename Buzz. So another faction, 3 new weapons, 3 new maps, 90 tiers battle pass. Season 3, same thing. Faction codename Orchard. Dude, this is the second time on the podcast I've had to say that, and I've choked on it both times. 3 new weapons, 3 new maps, same thing. And then season 4, it's codename Horde, and it's 3 new weapons, 3 new maps. So there you go. It's they're saying, at least in the first year, there's gonna be a good 12 maps and 12 weapons that we carried out. So that'd be pretty nice.
So yeah, that's 4 seasons for year 1.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So it's every 3 months.
So yeah, you're getting a good amount. I mean, I feel like from the casual times that I played the newer Call of Duties, it's like when a new season drops, it's like a new map. So getting 3 is pretty nice, and getting some refresh with different weapons and stuff. Again, it all kind of depends, I guess, on how exciting those things are. Right?
Yeah, and it also like if Destiny, like I don't know how much you've played Destiny 2, but like I remember playing it when the Stasis, when Stasis was introduced, and that was such a pain. I mean, it was at least for me, I felt like that game broke, that power broke the game for a bit. So that's the thing. If every faction is going to have some sort of ability, it's kind of a little it can get a little ridiculous. And I will say though, I said that there's game doesn't have any kill streaks. I think in the last episode, because the game's very simple. There's no the weapon loadout is just main weapon, secondary, and your item, like your frag grenade or whatever. That's it. There's no perks or anything like that. I don't know if I said that now, so now I'm second guessing it. So I'm glad I explained it. But in that though, I said there's no kill streak, but there is like a thing you earn over time. It's not a kill streak. It's just like a XP streak. where it's our skill streak. And that's like your like faction's special ability. It's just that everyone has those, and it would I would hate to get to one that just like totally breaks the meta, and it's just like, oh, this one just makes you blind and stops your controller from working for 30 seconds, or some I'm just making it up, but you know what I mean, something stupid like that.
This quadrant of the map has disappeared.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
That's kind of, where I like it really just kind of depends, because I mean, you're going to be fighting with Call of Duty, and then even, 1 year from now, when you're at the end of season 4 and we're in this exact same time period where, we're hearing about new Call of Duty, it's like, is season 5 of XDefiant.
Nick, I want your honest opinion. When do you think, now that Xbox has Call of Duty, when do you think Call of Duty will end? I'm not saying that like in a stabby way. I genuinely think, like, at what point do you think they'll make the decision, hey, instead of like a Call of Duty game every year, we'll just do like a Call of Duty game, and then it's like a live service, whatever, like, or just they divert from the plan. At what point do you think that happens? Or is it too holy of a cow to touch? You know what I mean? Is that a saying?
It's a really interesting question. Because personally, like, I, just from history, right?
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about Call of Duty history this episode.
Gather
back
around,
before
kids.
Modern Warfare 2019, I would have answered this question being like, we've got to be only like a couple of years out from, just people not being interested in Call of Duty anymore. Like, they're just, every new game is like some boring future like setting that nobody really wanted or whatever.
Yeah.
They screw up the meta, they launch it buggy or something like that. So like back prior to that, I would have said, we're a couple years out. Then Modern Warfare 2019 hit, and it's like, I guess people still really like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
We're basically hitting numbers that they hadn't seen in 10 years. Like,
yeah.
So it's like, it's so tough. It's like, at this point, like, I don't want to say like everything's a golden goose, right? But like, what's it going to take for like a new Grand Theft Auto to not like continue, right? And that's kind of where like Call of Duty's at. Like, it does just make so much money. It's like, even when they have bad years, it still makes more money than like everything else in the industry, right?
Yeah.
So money wise, I mean, Activision / Xbox is just always going to be incentivized to make it, but it's like, yeah, I guess they would, like, if they pull a Band-Aid off and like randomly, or like maybe this Game Pass stuff doesn't really work out, and it's just like, okay, like, what we're gonna do is we're gonna spin it off. We're gonna have, your Call of Duty Infinity, like Assassin's Creed, and you're going to, that'll be available on Game Pass, and then you'll pay like, to basically bolt on new expansions that are, new games or something like that. If that's the case, and it's like, Game Pass really screws up this kind of, thing they have going, like, I could see maybe a couple years out from that. I think they definitely want to give the Game Pass stuff at least a try for this year and maybe next year. But as far as like, hey, we're kind of done doing Call of Duty, I mean, it would be like the studios would have to close at that point. Like,
well, that can't happen, right? I mean, the studios can't just close for no reason, Nick.
Right.
We know
what
that.
do you think? I'm curious to hear what you think on that.
So you were maybe expecting a well thought out response. I just kind of threw that question out as it came out. No, for me,
I was kind of searching around the dark there for a minute, just being like, what do I think about that? So it's definitely a tricky one to answer.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously we're just kind of like, this is the whole, this is why podcasts were created. We're theorizing here. But for me, no, I think that Call of Duty has it is that kind of sacred, as I said, where you wouldn't want to touch it, because like, this is why you paid that much to get this company, or at least like a big part of it. Obviously, Blizzard has a huge catalog of IP that is very heavy in the bank, but No, Call of Duty's huge. I don't expect them to ever kind of get rid of it for any reason. But that being said, you know, is there, have we, like, I'm just like in that headspace where I'm just like, okay, have we missed the point where a Call of Duty and a Battlefield could duke it out in like a free to play, like, hey, or like, hey, here's a free to play game, and they're the same way they did, with a paid entry. Here's a kind of a base, like bare bones Call of Duty or bare bones Battlefield, enjoy, and then you can buy more shit to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's only like a weird left field idea.
Like, basically where I think you're kind of stabbing that point at, like, at least where my mind goes, correct, like,
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but, kind of looking for like a point where it was Battlefield 3, whenever that was out, versus I think it was Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah. Around that. Like, yep.
The height of those sort of fights, and then when Battlefield 4 kind of came out and didn't launch too great, I feel like that kind of like, oh yeah, we're button heads kind of energy kind of disappeared between the two of them. But I specifically think, like, in what you mentioned, like a free to play kind of butting heads, I definitely can still see that happening in the future. Like, if Battlefield can actually, like, kind of get its, shit together and like launch fully featured, like, high quality campaign that people, are actually,
it'll launch fully featured. You'll just have to pay for every bullet individually.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, if that is the case, then yes, I could still see, like, a classic, like, oh, it's, Battlefield versus Call of Duty again. And obviously EA is kind of structuring Battlefield almost like Call of Duty, where it's like, half the EA studios are working on Battlefield now. So,
and I'm not saying this is the winning formula either, because like I don't like, I mean, they did literally what I'm describing. They did with Halo, with Halo Infinite, and was that like I don't know if it was like a raging success. I'm not saying that as like a negative. I'm just saying, like, just like out of a fact. I don't know if it was like, I don't know if Halo Infinite was like as huge as I think maybe they had Xboxes wanted it, but
yeah, it certainly wasn't as big as they wanted it to be. Yeah, I think it's what's also interesting in regards to this also is with Battlefield and Call of Duty. I just completely like brain farted. What was I
no
saying?
Worries, dude. No worries.
Happens to all of us. Like, I'm trying to jump in with what I. Yeah, I completely brain farted on that.
no
that was the complete leaking of ideas out of my head on that.
Yeah.
No. It had something to do with, what was it? Oh, okay, I remember.
There it is. He wrangled it.
Ooh, that was a moment. That was a senior moment right there. Going back on one of the questions that you asked beforehand, the what will it take for Call of Duty to go away?
Yeah.
An interesting branch off point that I do think could be feasible, especially in this modern era that we have, where, there's a lot of unrest in the industry, and like people getting laid off, and like, developers just, not having faith in their parent companies, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I want to see what your thoughts are on this. Could you see a future where, the Call of Duty studios, your Infinity Ward, your Treyarch, your Sledgehammer Games,
Raven,
at a certain point where they on the development side band together, approach Microsoft, and they're like, hey, we don't want to work on Call of Duty anymore. Like, basically they get to the point where it's just like, these games, they're tough to make, but also they're very creatively stifling. Like, obviously there's going to be people on those teams that enjoy making Call of Duty, right?
Sure.
But like, we're coming on like 20 years.
It's a really curious fact for me that and I'm hoping I'm quoting this right, and you can refer to my article on RespawnStation.com to check, but if I remember correctly, Sleeping Dogs was originally like got life at Treyarch. Treyarch was where it had an idea, and then like I think they had like started development on it, or like not started, like started conceptualizing it under Activision, and then Activision sold that, like the IP and all that stuff, to I think Square Enix, and then Square Enix eventually picked it up with the developers who ended up making Sleeping Dogs. But yeah, that was. Oh, and at some point in the game, in that history as well, it switched. Like I think Square Enix bought it, and then oh no, yeah, it was. At some point, it became a different series, like a different IP, and then they're like, actually, this doesn't make sense, and they made it its own, like Sleeping Dogs.
I think it started as True Crime.
That's what it is. I was trying to dance around it. I was trying to find the True Crime. Yep. So, True Crime Hong Kong or whatever, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the fact that kind of stuff could come out of Call of Duty, I mean, look, I think that the production quality of Call of Duty is so high, and like it's like Naughty Dog level of quality, like that. It is like AAA as you can get. If that applied to something like totally wild, weird, whatever, like just original, would be so interesting. I'd love to see it, and even if it's like a Splinter Cell team, not Ubisoft, back off. Just like a Splinter Cell at Activision, or at Treyarch, or Infinity Ward, that just makes something that they want to make. I don't know, and again, we're saying this. There's a chance that there's like everyone there is like, yes, dude, let's fucking. Let's make another Call of Duty. Totally, I get it. You're doing your dream job. I get it, but I'm just saying.
I just wonder if they would ever get to the point where, like, they sit down in a boardroom and they're like, if you tell us we need to make another Call of Duty, we are all walking out and we will not have a studio to make this. Like, I wonder if that is a more realistic, future point on this timeline or not.
Yeah.
It's curious.
No, yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't want to beat the dead horse, because I feel like this is an endlessly theorizable topic for me, even, like, just being like, why don't they just skip instead of every year, let's skip it and then have one of the studios jump off to something else. Could happen.
That was the dream.
Yeah,
I would say, like, when they first said that they were buying Activision, I feel like that was the dream, where it's like, oh, finally Call of Duty can take a break, and some of these developers, like, that have extensive histories, like Raven, like making interesting shooters and other games in the past, it's like maybe they can get out and like try some new stuff again. But then it's like, once that deal closed, it was just kind of like, okay, now you're just doing that for us. It's like, oh god. Like, I definitely don't have faith in that point anymore. I did at one time, but it just, money changed hands. That's it.
Regarding Black Ops, I mean, look, I think the Black Ops series has had such a. Every time I say look, you guys better actually be looking at me. You better pull over the car and just like actually stop, pull it out, and then watch as I'm saying it. But I think the Black Ops series has had like the weirdest kind of storylines, because I think Black Ops 1 is, I think, a huge plot twist. Like, for me, this is a quote. This is a clippable, quotable moment. I think the Black Ops 1 ending is to gaming what the Sixth Sense ending is to films. It is, I think, that iconic of, like, I am Victor Reznov. That whole... I really think that. Now...
What do the numbers mean, Mason?
The numbers, Mason. Black Ops 2 goes on to become this game that just totally, goes out the way, like, nothing like any of the other games. It has multiple endings. It's, has like these optional missions in between the campaign. There's like kind of mini wars. You can kind of almost like dictate like a board game. It's so weird. And then Black Ops 3 happens. Like I said in the minor spoilers earlier, you're like dead and like at the start of the game, and then it becomes like, oh, actually you're like, yeah, it's like all already happened or something. It's really weird. And then 4 just ducks out of a campaign and puts 30 minutes of cutscenes in between some AI bot missions. So
right.
I'm
And then Cold War kind of, goes back to that sort of Black Ops 1 kind of vibe where it's like,
yeah.
we're going to try to, tell a structured narrative that has like some twists and turns and gets a little bit more into that like kind of espionage angle that
But
the
have
first
you
game kind of
played?
had.
Have you played Cold War?
I did, yeah, I think last
So
year.
the end of Cold War. Am I crazy? Look, spoiler alert for Cold War. Do you remember Cold War?
Once you start talking about it,
Have I
I'll
stunned
probably
you?
remember
So
parts
like
of it.
at the end, if I remember, at the end of Cold War, you kill like characters from Black Ops, like the other Black Ops games, right? Like you're killing like because you're playing as someone who is against. So like you shoot.
I don't remember that unless Cold War has different endings in it also.
I think it does.
Okay.
Hold on.
My ending that I remember was like an assault on like a castle, and then they were like insinuating that the dude with the glasses was going to betray you or something.
Yeah. Okay. This is so interesting. Yeah, there are multiple endings. Oh my
Weird.
god.
That's so weird.
What the hell? So, but that's the thing though. What's canon? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's like, what playthrough of the game would be like the one? Oh yeah, this is the good one.
That's always an interesting, topic. I feel like that's something that, going back to some of our earlier episodes that a lot of people were talking about with the Fallout TV show, where it's like in a game like that where you have multiple different endings, it's like you kind of have to pick and choose certain paths if you want to have like certain characters appear in future seasons and stuff. So
spoiler.
yeah,
So can you say what ending you got? Sorry.
I got one where it was like an assault on a castle, and then the dude with the glasses, whatever his name was, not Brad Pitt,
Yeah.
was like gonna try to betray us or something. I think I remember him like pulling a gun on me at the end, and then it cuts to credits.
Oh yeah. Okay. So again, spoiler alert. From what my brief kind of look, again, I do have reading comprehension. So the two endings, there's either what you got where Adler kills you, or the other one where you essentially turn and you end up killing all of your friends, and you like launch the nukes.
Is that the one that you got?
Yeah. So that's what.
That's so crazy that we both got.
Which one's the ending? You know what I mean?
I think it also depends on when the game is set, because also before we started.
Well, so Black Ops 6 is with Saddam Hussein and like that whole time, like so it's fairly recent, I guess, or not recent, whatever.
Yeah, I watched the live action trailer, which doesn't really give a whole lot. It feels like it's more of like a tone piece.
Yes,
anything.
I agree.
But it'll be interesting to see if they still have the same cast or if it's a new cast, right? I think that's what kind of surprised me when they were showing off Cold War the first time, because it was like, you had all the old Black Ops characters, and it's like, okay, they were also in Black Ops 2, and I know that that's like way further in the future, so it's like,
actually, I think aren't we currently in the future? Like, isn't it? What year does Black Ops 2 take place? 2025. Oh, we're 1 year away. Wow.
So close.
Wow. So next year, guys, Raul Menendez about to do something crazy. Oh my God.
Gonna have drone storms running around cities.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the because I mean Black Ops 3 doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, that doesn't have any of the returning cast, does it? If you remember.
It is. It's an ancestor of someone, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think there is some sort of there.
While we're talking about Xbox, this is like a side topic, but I feel like this whole episode's just been like we're just kind of piling on to random side roads. I've realized I never actually watched the gameplay for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So I went and did that, and I was listening to it, and I was like, wow. I said, like, the voice actor, like, at the start, I was like, wow, he kind of sounds like, indie, but it's, like, a little bit different, so I can kind of see it. And then as it got closer to the end, I was like, this kind of sounds familiar. And then the last line of the trailer, I was like, is this fucking Troy Baker? It's Troy Baker, dude. Oh my, cannot believe Troy Baker, man. Wow, I'm glad he's working.
It's kind of funny because you know like it's a decent performance, but also like it's just certain words with certain actors, right?
Yeah.
Like you just pick up on it. Like I do it with Troy Baker. I used to be able to do it with Nolan North, but I don't actually hear him in as many things these days. But the other one is Nashar Dalal, who's in a lot of stuff right now. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name exactly correctly there, but
Yeah.
he's in like Red Dead 2. He's in Armored Core 6. He's in No More Heroes 3. Like he's in like everything. And he's now one where it's just like, you just kind of hear one or two lines and you're like, oh, there he is.
Mm. Yeah, actually, I think you are correct though. I don't think Black Ops 3 is related to the other ones.
So yeah, I could see maybe 6 going in a similar path if they don't.
It says, wait,
wanna
so
bog
Call of Duty
themselves down
Black
with
Ops
all
3
that.
follows up on the events of Call of Duty Black Ops 2, specifically in regards to the drone strikes of 2025 that took place in the hands of Raul Menendez. The game is set between 2065 and 2070, and the technology is irrevocably embedded on the battlefield. So I guess its in-universe is just ramped up to a long time, so it's not like, direct reference or anything, I guess. Huh. Interesting. Wow.
But I did want to real quick just
Yeah.
branch off on something that you had started to talk about with Black Ops being like weird, right?
Yeah.
Like it feels like out of all of the sub-series of Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Black Ops is definitely the most experimental when it comes to the gameplay.
Yeah.
You have like how many other games in this series have like multiple endings and stuff like that.
Right.
So
Right.
that's just like a really quick, thing. Do you think Black Ops 6 is going to radically change anything, or do you think this is going to feel more like a Cold War follow-up where it's still going to be like we're kind of in that like Black Ops?
See, for me, Cold War felt very again, I'm not trying to just go out of my way to say stuff, but like I just felt very stale for me. Like I didn't connect with it. So I bounced off of it.
I kind of agree when I played it.
Yeah,
like, it felt like just Black Ops flavored Modern Warfare.
Yeah, and it's so like, but again, the production quality is like super high. It's just like I didn't really connect with it. That being said, there's like certainly sequences, and I was like, this is pretty cool. But that being so, I'm hoping it's not just Black Ops Cold War. I would like something different. I don't know if we'll get it. I do think that Treyarch is that, like you said, the one that goes a little weird with it. They're willing to take the weird risks. I just hope that look, there's a medium between. I think that Black Ops 3 goes a little too far in one direction, and then like Black Ops 1 is like, I think the safest they've ever played it, for me at least, I think. And then Black Ops 2 is a sweet spot. I would hope that they get to Black Ops 2. Cold War is just like very, like it's not really that crazy unless unless I didn't like miss something in that game and it turns out you're actually, you're dead the whole time or something like that. I think the twist is that, those two endings, but
like it had some interesting mission like layouts, but at the same time, that's kind of like what the modern era of Call of Duty is. It's like, you have your shakeups on your stealth missions, you have your like interesting set pieces, but like the story's not like as strong. I feel at least.
And I think that's, Modern Warfare 3, like the new one, I think is like just a physical embodiment of that to a certain degree. I mean, obviously, I know there's work put into the multiplayer and everything like that, but it's just like, that campaign is just like the most like it was like they tried to hype it up and it's like this new mode, this campaign is, allows for dynamic gameplay moments.
It's open world.
Yeah, it's like open it's like open levels or whatever. It's not open world, it's like open concept or whatever. Yeah. I'm hoping Black Ops 6 is good, but right now I'm still on XDefiant, and I hopefully you are too. Turn off crossplay and play it because it's much better. Trust me. You'll have. Oh, here's a weird thing. I'm not sure if I'm doing it wrong. I don't think I am. So crossplay turned off is so much better on console because you don't have the PC players that are like jump shotting you have all the time. There's still PC console players that have like sticks that they put on the back that they can use to do that with, but by and large, you don't get into them as much. So it's much better. But even if you're playing with someone on PlayStation, you have to have crossplay on for some reason. I guess maybe it's because they're going through the Ubisoft Connect servers or something. So like you have to turn it on. I'm not sure, but I hope they fix that because it's weird. Like I'm with Austin is on PlayStation. I can invite him through my PlayStation, but it won't let him join. Yeah, so it's weird. If I'm doing it wrong, just let me know.
That's weird.
Let me know. All right. So with that hefty talk out of the way about Call of Duty, and who knew we had so much in us about Call of Duty? Honestly, I didn't think we would have so much to say about it. But I guess it's been rooted, it's been embedded in us. We've been waiting for it to express.
Call of Duty is a societal machine.
Dude, it absolutely is. That's why. Did you see that they're getting sued?
Oh,
yeah. I mean, we're not gonna get into it now because it's like a much more serious topic. But it's like for like.
Oh, I think I did see one headline. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, if anything develops on that, maybe we'll touch on it later. But yeah, interesting. Now it's time for like this, try that. Now, I'm going to try to think of one. I don't have one, but Nick, I see you have one, and this is where we're going to talk about maybe a little bit diversion again. So go ahead.
Yeah, so last night I went and saw Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, if I have to say the whole name.
Witness me.
Furiosa's fine, but sidebar to the sidebar, I really don't like that naming convention for things in media these days. Like,
yeah,
just call it Furiosa. It's
better.
It's me talking about titles again.
Yeah,
that's gonna be my shtick as we go forward here.
Yeah,
but so I went and saw it. I really enjoyed the movie.
Yes,
I know you've seen it, but we haven't talked about your thoughts on it.
Not at all, man. Yeah.
I don't like it as much as Fury Road, but I did still think it was a really awesome movie. And it made me think when I got home, I was like, man, it's been a couple years, as I'm sure a lot of other people online have been, starting to share since I played the Mad Max game.
Yeah.
The one from like 2016, I think.
2015. Yeah. I was like, from Avalanche.
You know what? I'm going to reinstall that. So my like this or try that this week is going to be, if you like Fury Road or Furiosa, give that Mad Max game a try. It's not perfect. It's not like, god tier like gaming or anything like that, but if you're looking for a game that is going to give you the vibes of Mad Max, it's going to let you punch some weird war boys or whatever and drive a car around desert, like it's going to give you that in spades. So
Nick, I've cooked. I've got a good one on my hands, but before we get to my recommendation, should I get my recommendation first and then talk about Furiosa, or do you want to talk about it now?
Is it related?
It is related. I've also hitched onto yours.
Yeah, give your recommendation.
Okay,
then,
so this was a thought I had leaving the theater, and so I'm glad I had it again. So if you like Furiosa, then you'll need to get yourself a PlayStation 3, because the game I'm recommending you to try is MotorStorm Apocalypse.
Ooh.
Yes.
I've not played those games, but I have seen gameplay.
Wow. So cool. I actually got this game as a package deal with so for my birthday, my parents got me a PlayStation TV. It was like a 3D TV. That essentially the gimmick of this TV was that, apart from the fact that it's 3D TV, if you're playing multiplayer games, it comes with, when you put on the 3D glasses, you only see your screen in full screen, like your side of the whatever your game mode is, right? You see it full screen. So there's no screen cheating at all, and it's also shaped like a PSP too, which is like a fun quirk to it.
I was just about to ask you if that was the one that looked like the PSP.
Yep. As a screen, and then
you actually had one of those.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But the thing was, it came with a bundle with MotorStorm Apocalypse, because MotorStorm Apocalypse is a 3D game. And I'll tell you what, I did play this game, and it is actually pretty good. And it's literally, if you look up gameplay for this game, it's close to Mad Max. It's a little bit more It's a little bit more colorful, but man, it's a good one. I remember having a good time with it, and I'm glad I thought of it because I was really thinking. I was like, okay, here's a diversion. So George Miller just did an interview saying about, obviously for the promotion of Furiosa, where he said that he wasn't a fan of the 2015 or 2016 Mad Max game, and how he wishes Hideo Kojima could make a Mad Max game, but he has too much respect for him to try. Essentially, is like something along that line, which.
I've seen bits and pieces of people saying that George Miller talked about it, but I didn't see that. That makes a lot of sense though.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. I haven't played, so the Mad Max game, I was actually going to go play it sometime this summer. I was going to get to it as well. So Nick, we'll talk about it sometime whenever. I don't know when you're planning on playing it, if it's right now or whenever, but I'll join you on that on that journey. But one thing I thought was interesting was I thought that the developers of, or not even the developers of, something like MotorStorm Apocalypse in the Mad Max world would be killer. I think that would be such a cool idea. So that's just
be awesome.
That's just one side thought to the whole thing. But also, the movie, despite the whole thing about how he wasn't a fan of the 2015 game. There's a character, a pivotal character in the game that's in the movie, and who's not in the Fury Road because, the game kind of, I guess, happens in between Furiosa and this, so you can guess what happens. But yeah, do you know who I'm talking about?
I did see some people online talking about it. Okay. I don't remember their role in the game because, again, it's been a couple years since I played it. But yes, I did see some people being like, "Oh, he's from the game." So
it's a big character too. Do you know who it is? Like what?
It's one of the sons of Immortan Joe, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. That's the one. One. So talking about Furiosa though, last Thursday, so opening night. I went to see Furiosa in IMAX, and that was
probably fun.
I was lost in this experience. It was so, and people clapped at the end of the movie. It was over, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" It really is like just some of the balls to the walls action. Also Junkie XL does a killer soundtrack in this movie. Just like the high octane, just like the guitar riffs or whatever it is that just like keeps amping up the kind of tension. But there's some just crazy ass sequence. Like there's the first kind of journey that they make to Bullet Farm was like that whole sequence on the road was just a ride.
Is that with the war rig?
Yeah, with the war rig.
I love that scene.
That whole sequence is just nonstop. It's just like you don't get a chance to breathe, and then and then they go back to Bullet Farm. The movie's brand new. I'm not going to ruin it for anyone. But so since I watched that movie, I was like, okay, I realized I haven't watched the original Mad Max movies, and so starting Friday, I spent the long weekend. I went watched the first Mad Max on Friday. Second Mad Max on Saturday, third Mad Max on Sunday, and then I watched Fury Road, and then I watched Furiosa in theaters again, just to round it out, just to bookend it. My overall thoughts, just kind of, obviously this is a video game podcast, but this is our podcast. We can do what we want.
We're on our sidebars today. So
yeah.
Let's get into Mad Max.
The first Mad Max is like I had no idea what the hell it was. Like, it's not like if you told me, hey, look, this is a Mad Max movie, I would have been like, what are you talking about? I don't know if you know anything about these movies, Nick. First one's totally.
The only one I haven't seen is Thunderdome.
Okay.
Yes, the first movie feels like the most different from all of them.
But essentially, the first one, it's like what Furiosa is to like Furiosa's character in Fury Road. That's pretty much what the first Mad Max movie is to Road Warrior. And yeah, third one is just like third one's like really weird in the second half. But having now watched them, first of all, I don't know if you spotted this, Nick, but the Furiosa pretty much at one point, oh shit, minor spoilers, guys, minor spoilers. Just like fucking close your eyes for 10 seconds. there's a
Just
scene.
say spoilers. We might.
Okay. Spoilers. Okay, so there's a scene in where they briefly cut to the wide shot where it's Max, and the movie pretty much says that he rescued Furiosa from the desert. Did you notice? So I noticed on the second time. I
noticed the cameo shot, but I didn't make that connection. But that was what.
Because he has Max's car. He's also eating dog food, which is what Max does in Road Warrior. He's just sitting there eating dog food, and then he sitting on his car, looks around, and then he stares at Furiosa's unconscious form, and then she wakes up in a safe place. So, yeah, interesting. I thought that was a random thing I caught. Also, I didn't know that the Fury Road had such a troubled production. There's a book written about it. This Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, I think, is what it's called. So I might read it. We'll see. Anything else you want to say about Furiosa?
The movie looks really good. I mean, I wasn't expecting it not to, but there's some really cool shots in it that I enjoyed. I know that you would appreciate.
Oh, dude, yeah. It is interesting because like the first three movies are so disappointingly not this high high colored, and there's like a thing where about like George Miller was in an interview talking about how he saw a lot of the 2000s eras like post-apocalyptic movies that are like all desaturated and lost of colors, and it's like, well, we gotta like go the other direction or something, someone's got to go in the other direction. So they cranked it up for Fury Road, and like it's so perfectly done. I can't imagine it any other way. Like that world that like kind of lives in that kind of that color palette. But yeah, some super just imaginative shots, and again, like in IMAX, seeing some of the shots of like the caravans, like driving through the desert. It's just like the scale of it is really wild.
The thing that I also really enjoyed is, it's a revenge movie, and I think they built that up really well. Like at the beginning, you get enough time to really get into that and, get the reasoning why it's a revenge movie. In the middle, you get like kind of that kind of tension of like the hunt, like she's kind of like looking for him. And then at the end, I think it's like, is it spread across 5 like chapters?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
The beginning of that 5th one where she's like, kind of driving and following
the hunt.
The
yeah.
that she's going after. Like
Beyond
whenever
vengeance.
That started kicking off, I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be sick.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it was just, yeah, I just had a smile on my face when I was watching this sequence. I know it sounds twisted, but like, it's just like, it's cinema to like such like an nth degree of like, I don't know. I mean, it's not even like I'm not saying it's like, oh, the movie's perfect. There's some like weird stuff that I caught with like, I don't even know if other people would have caught it, but there's like a sequence at the very start. There's like a really quick frame where the mom, like Furiosa's mom, like jumps onto a horseback, and it looks really wonky in terms of like, she kind of like teleports. She kind of like glides up. Maybe it's like on an IMAX screen, it's kind of noticeable of like that difference. But there's some stuff like that where like some of that, but like just the vision here is so crazy that like the shots, the establishing shots. I'm such a sucker for world building establishing shots, and they have 3. They're like, they go like Gas Town. And it's like just a long shot. It's like second set or second safe stronghold or whatever. And then they go to the bullet farm and that wide shot. I'm like, oh shit, that's fucking long. They come a long way from the shoestring budget of Mad Max 1.
Yeah, that first one, I watched the Road Warrior first, and then I watched the original, and I was like, what the heck? This doesn't even look like an apocalypse movie. It just looks like they're driving cars around on the highway.
Yeah. That movie had like a $400,000 budget too, so a lot with very little. But anyway, that's enough movie talk. I'm sure we'll get back to movies at some point or another again in the future, but it's time to wrap it up with our last and favorite segment, the inbox. There's a few items. Few interesting ones to take a look at. the first one that, oh my gosh, I just like jammed my my toe into my chair and it hurt like a bitch. Oh my god. All right, so this one looks very, very cool, very colorful. It came in just earlier today. It's a sci-fi game called Caravan Sandwich, and that's witch as in Witch. Caravan Sandwich. They put out a reveal trailer earlier today, and it says an indie developer Plain Toast, in collaboration with indie publisher Dear Villagers, is thrilled to announce the upcoming release of Caravan Sandwich, a captivating narrative-driven exploration adventure set in a beautifully crafted sci-fi province-like world called Sigalo. I hope I said that right. So the game is launching in 2024 on Steam, Epic Game Store, PlayStation 5, and the Nintendo Switch. Interestingly, not Xbox. Huh. But yeah, have you looking at it?
Yeah, I'm looking at the
Looks very cool. I like the color palette and just kind of the general vibe of the game.
Yeah, this is one of those like kind of games where it's like they have an idea for, you know, the world, and then the caravan is like the element that you throw in there to make it a little bit different.
Yeah. So that's a fun one to check out. Excuse me. Here's a random plug I'll throw out there. Obviously, you guys know I like to tease. Nick and I'll say Nick has an interview coming out that I think is going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to it because it's a cool developer that we're throwing a few questions at, and so you can keep an eye on RespawnStation.com for when that's out and in the coming weeks. You know, they're busy game developers. We'll plan accordingly, but I'm excited.
Fans of spooky.
Yes.
That'll be the tease.
And that's all I'll say. And also, yeah, that's all I'll say. There's also, I think we talked about this a few episodes ago, but there's a date now. So Kaumeru, a frog refuge, it's essentially a cozy like frog sanctuary game. It's a farming sim. It's developed by Humble Reeds and published by Armor Game Studios, and it's coming to PC on Steam, Xbox Series XS, and Nintendo Switch on June 8th. So right around the corner, we'll have that game. Excuse me. Oh boy. By the way, there's another game I'm currently playing that comes out tomorrow. The embargo lifts tomorrow. So unfortunately, I won't be able to talk about it until the next episode. But I'm excited for everyone else to hopefully get a hands on it. I'm curious to see what people think about it because, it's a cool one. I mean, I think you know what I'm talking about, Nick. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Maybe. I'll ask you afterwards.
That works. This one, another one, Nick, that you might like, or maybe you'll appreciate it at arm's length. But I'll throw it out there because, look, really, if it looks cool, I'll mention it here because maybe someone will like it. So this one is called Conscript, and it is from Australian developer Catchweight Studio, and it's published by Team 17 Digital, and it is a survival horror game that's coming to PlayStation. PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series XS, and PC, and Nintendo Switch. And so it says, Conscript takes players deep into the trenches of the First World War, offering a survival horror experience inspired by the classics of the genre. Set in the Battle of Verdun in 1916, players take on the role of a lone French soldier searching for his missing brother, scavenging for supplies, and solving complex puzzles. So that's a cool one.
I saw a Twitter trailer for this a long time ago, and it must have been around the time that Amnesia the Bunker came out, because I think I have these two games connected together in my head, and it's like, oh, we're getting World War I horror now, or bunker horror.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it did look kind of neat. I'm not sure if I'll hop into this one or not, but it's definitely an interesting setting for a horror game that's not really not tapped too much outside of Amnesia.
Yeah. That was kind of why I thought it was fun one to throw in there. This is one I'm hoping to check out when it comes out later this. Oh my God, it's out. Well, that shows you this was at least 2 days old. So, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game, has gone into early access or advanced access on May 28th, which is, of course, yesterday. So the game is playable now. You can go ahead and try it for yourself. But so this is from Ilphonic. Shout out to Ilphonic. Makes some very good asymmetrical multiplayer games. They've announced that advanced access begins for the pre-orders of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The game officially launches on Tuesday, June 4th. So there you go, actually. There you go. And it's available worldwide on Steam for PC. It's playable on Steam Deck. It's also on PS5 and Xbox Series XS. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a 3v7 game where essentially there's 3 Killer Clowns from Outer Space and then I guess just 7 regular humans. And, well, there you go. I'm not gonna ruin the rest. You have to survive and escape while the clowns try to kill you. So there you go. Let's see. Do we have anything else coming out? We already went over the bolt gun news.
Did you say you had one potentially related to getaway drivers?
Yes. Hold on. I'm glad you remembered that, Nick. That's a good shout. Okay. I think. See, I'm second guessing myself because I think I already shouted it out in one of the other episodes.
Oh, gotcha.
But you could. So I'll say it, and if I already said it, I apologize, and it's a double shout out to the game. You can still look it up, Nick. It's called Heading Out, and sure. It's from Saber Interactive and indie developer Serious Sim. I think I did, but it just came out.
This is the first time that I'm seeing this.
Okay, well, it came out earlier this month, and it's inspired by cult classic American road films. Yeah, I mean, I could have mentioned it, and you might have just not have searched it up at the time.
Possible,
but,
yes.
Yeah, but yeah. So does that work for you though? Does that? I mean, is it in the vein of
it's certainly a neat color palette.
Palette, yeah, black, white, red. That.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Well, there you go. I'm glad I could deliver at least a little bit, even though I went back on my ideas. Almost almost as soon as I said it, I was like, oh shit, I think I may have already said it, but we'll see. We'll see if I remember when I get there. And I definitely forgot, but I'm glad you remembered. But with that said, I think that is all that we have to talk about.
That's all she wrote.
Yeah, that's all she wrote. Now I'm gonna go watch the real Mad Max, Power Rangers RPM. Dude, I'm not even joking. So this is not even a joke. I've been watching Power Rangers randomly because I'm like, I used to watch it as a kid. Let me watch it again for the nostalgia. But I'm watching like Power Rangers I haven't seen before. And so people on like Reddit were like, you have to watch Power Rangers RPM. And so I knowing nothing about it, I was like, all right, sure. Watched it. It's like Mad Max, dude. It's straight up like Mad Max. It's in New Zealand, and I'm guessing it's New Zealand, and it's like all in like they have all cars, and it's like a wasteland. It's weird, but yeah.
Is it live action or animated?
All live action, yeah, all live action.
Crazy.
And it's like, I didn't know that like all the Power Rangers like stuff is like all canon, like it's all one timeline. So like each season is just like a continuation, and even if it's like in totally different places, they're like, yeah, like the Rangers back at this place are doing this, you know, like it's just like a world. I didn't know it was like that deeply connected, but yeah. There's like a 1 hour movie, like a special movie that came out that I'll watch eventually once I finish RPM, and that'll seal the deal for me. But anyway, what'd you say?
Power lore.
Yeah, dude. There's a lot of Power Rangers lore. Way too much in my head. You know what I mean? Way too much. I'll lore dump for you later, Nick. But for anyone who's listening, thank you so much for doing so. Whatever platform you're listening to this on, please subscribe on YouTube. But of course, more importantly, check out our website, respawnstation.com. We have this has been a very interesting time for our website as we've are transitioning to video content, and as Google rolls out their brilliant new AI platform. It's been an interesting few months, but thank you to everybody who does check out our website. We appreciate all the support. And I'm not just saying this because it's like, oh, like the IGN thing recently. I'm just saying this in general. Support independent game media because it would suck if everyone was kind of just all under one kind of umbrella, all kind of saying the same thing in different words. So. Yeah, that is it. Any closing remarks from you, Nick? Oh,
Call of Duty is coming out again.
I forgot to tell you about this episode's sponsor. Oh, wait. The sponsor is it's me. It's me. I'm the sponsor. So, this Saturday, which is June 1st, if you're watching this live or, listening to this, in the immediate future, Nick, I don't know if you know about this. You might be finding out about this as we're doing it. So,
real time.
I had this idea for essentially a live walkthrough competition where Austin, Alexa, and myself would all start a game at the same time live. Not like, in a voice chat or anything, just like individually. We're just playing the game. We're all doing it live. And we all try to see how long we can, who the first one to beat it is. Not speed run, because we have to, we can't skip cutscenes, but we have to, it's in one stream. We can't end until we finish. That is the goal. This is the challenge.
Boy.
Yeah. Now the game, there's 3 games that were possible for votes, and Austin and Alexa and I kind of threw around different ideas, and we put a list together. We shortlisted it. The 3 final games that people could still vote on until midnight is Mafia Definitive Edition, Thymesia, the Souls-like, or Duke Nukem Forever. A weird assortment of games, I know.
Yeah, really.
But 3, games I think would be fun for people to see, do in one sitting. Or, not one sitting. We can get up and, sit down, but, in one stream. Nick, do you have a guess? Do you have a guess on which one's winning?
I do have a guess. I would say this is not my guess, but from experience, I know you could do Mafia in one stream. But I would have to guess Duke Nukem is winning.
Wow. Okay. So, and now, what would your vote be? I'm just curious.
My vote would probably still go to Duke Nukem, but only because I know how bad that is.
Yeah, that's fair.
It would be between that or Mafia. But I think for content, it would probably go to Duke Nukem.
So I would have thought the same thing, Nick, but Mafia has swept. I mean, unless there is no way for any other game to catch up at this point. So it's almost, again, we have 2 hours, but you can almost take it to the bank. Mafia is going to be the game that Mafia, the first one, Definitive Edition, is going to be the game that we're going to be playing live. We're going to start in the morning, and then we're going to play it until we finish it. And then, again, it's really as long as as long as it takes for each person to do it, and people can tune in to whatever perspective they want and see how far we are into the walkthrough. So,
right on.
Check it out. You can watch me at youtube.com/SDSK or youtube.com/@SDSK. I don't know if both of those work still, but I think they do. So, either way. I'll see you there Saturday, June 1st. Be there, be square. I'll probably be live pretty much most of the day, so come by and say hi. But with that said, also I haven't decided. This is a random thought. I haven't decided if I'm going to do black and white again. I know, just for the aesthetic, or maybe I'll do color and just experience it brand new. Who knows? But anyway, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed, you know what to do about it. So until next time, as always, have a good night, a good morning, and a damn good time.